It's time for The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom review for the Nintendo Switch. Was anyone else surprised by the original teaser trailer for this game back in 2019? For a bit, I thought it was another DLC pack for Breath of the Wild, but I'm glad it turned out to be a whole new adventure, and one that I hoped could have been released sooner than it did. But no matter, it's finally here, so let's get into it. The game begins with Link escorting Zelda through ancient passageways deep beneath Hyrule Castle. After significant story events take place, Link awakens in an unfamiliar location and notices that his right arm and hand have been replaced. Moments later, you realize that you're standing on sky islands floating miles above Hyrule. As you traverse through, you will eventually gain special abilities, thanks in part to your new arm. These abilities are Ultra Hand, where you're able to grab, levitate, and combine virtually any interactable item together, allowing for crazy crafting potential. Fuse, where you're able to fuse almost any item to your weapon or shield, which, depending on the item, can increase damage output or give Link a special advantage in battle. Ascend, which lets Link swim vertically up through any area or platform that will allow Link to stand up or tread water through the other side, and Recall, where you can target any type of movable item and reverse its exact immediate movement for a short time. Once you've acquired these abilities, you're free to leave this island and skydive to the surface. Those who have played Breath of the Wild will be familiar with this game's non-linear style. After you leave the initial Sky Island, you're basically free to do whatever you want and explore anywhere you'd like to go. There are a few restrictions that need to be unlocked by interacting with main quest NPCs, but 99% of what there is to do is within your grasp. A few in-game years have passed since the events in the first game, and you can see this in some of the NPCs, but in specific enemies as well. For instance, Bokoblins and Stone Taluses use the Fusion Dance to become a Battle Talus. Many enemies have a head swipe attack, in which they'll use their newly grown horns to attack Link with. It also appeared like enemies' endurance levels increased as it seemed to take more of an effort to stagger them. I appreciated these last 2 points as it was refreshing to fight the same, or at least similar enemies in new ways. New monsters have entered Hyrule, though, to make exploration and combat more challenging. One new Leviathan is the Gleeok, an elemental-based three-headed dragon that can pack a serious punch. Unless you're extremely skilled, it's best to steer clear of these beasts in the beginning until you're better prepared. I've heard complaints about the fact that Nintendo decided to stick with the weapon and shield durability mechanic. I honestly don't mind it, as it forces you to consistently search out newer and better gear. However, the fact that you're now able to fuse just about anything to your weapons and shields is a fantastic idea. Not only do you still need to search for gear, you can also create some deadly weapons by combining drop monster parts to them. Even your shield can be turned into a weapon if you attach the correct part. Testing out different items to see how they can be advantageous to you is fun and interesting, and it fuels your fire to go hunting for other enemies you've yet to encounter. The Ultra Hand ability is pretty crazy. Now personally, I'm not super creative when it comes to DIY, but figuring out what you can build and have it work is not only easy, but enticing, as there's very few limitations to what you can create. I also highly appreciated the fact that the game was not designed in a way where it heavily relied on using Ultra Hand, but instead, all of the abilities complement the core gameplay extremely well. The Ascend ability is a fantastic power. There are many caves and underground areas to explore, and instead of tedious backtracking, you create your own exit and within seconds are out and ready to continue onward. It's also quite handy for reaching areas when you need to quickly escape. I probably use Recall the least of the abilities, but it's still very handy in the right moment. Like in Breath of the Wild, shrines return all around Hyrule, but they're not in the same place as in the previous game. Once you step inside, you'll need to get to the end of the shrine by completing puzzles or battling your way through. Once finished, you'll be rewarded with a Light of Blessing. Collect 4 to exchange them for either a heart container or stamina vessel. I always chose a stamina vessel as I feel it provides more value in the beginning of the game. I really dislike how Link's stamina can run out so fast when you first start, so obtaining stamina vessels quickly was always on my mind. Taking a Skyward Sword approach, the sky is littered with floating islands, all waiting for you to explore them. Some don't have much for you to do, but many contain puzzles to hidden treasure, and others have enemies ranging from pushovers to legitimate threats. It's so much fun finding out what each island has in store for you, but part of the fun is figuring out how to get to each one. Some are relatively close to the ground, while others are way up there, and you'll need to think creatively to reach them. The Sky Islands are fun to explore, but Nintendo somehow kept secret the biggest hidden gem in the game. Carved into the earth in various places throughout the map are chasms, and once you take the plunge, you are welcomed into the depths, a dark wilderness filled with mystery, mayhem, and moolah. When you first descend, you'll be surrounded by darkness, with only flickers of light in the distance. Fortunately, there are specific items you can use to help brighten your way, and when you encounter a light route, it will dispel the darkness in the immediate area. The depths are covered in gloom, a cursed substance plaguing the ground and walls. If you come in contact with gloom long enough, your maximum health will begin to drop. Fortunately, light roots dispel the curse, as well as natural light from the surface. The depths are incredibly fun to explore, and I'm so glad Nintendo not only made the depths a thing, but that they kept it a secret. It's one of the best in-game surprises in any video game. Graphically, the game looks the same as its predecessor, but that's definitely not a bad thing. What's really impressive is the fact that not only can you skydive to the surface without any interruption, but you can continue into the depths without any loading delays. Not once did I experience any frame rate dips or full-on pauses, which is quite impressive. The controls are the same as in Breath of the Wild, save for the fact that accessing your abilities is now done with the L button instead of pressing up on the D-pad. Pressing and holding up opens your inventory in a quick select menu. Anything that you're able to build with and or fuse to your weapons and shields is in this menu. This is extremely convenient and would seriously break the gameplay continuity if it wasn't a feature. One game mechanic that I really appreciated was that you could now drop any weapon or shield from your quick select menu after you opened up a chest that contained a piece of gear that you already had full inventory on. No longer did you have to put the item back, close the chest, open up your inventory, drop an item, then reopen the chest. It would have been really annoying to not have this feature, and is highly appreciated that it's here. Familiar, excellent music is present in certain locations of the game, but you'll also enjoy the new songs when you hear them. There's more voice acting in this game than Breath of the Wild, and I think it still works for a Zelda game, although Link doesn't talk, which I appreciate. There's more depth to the story, and it's exciting when you uncover more of it as you play through. Breath of the Wild had many outfits and clothing pieces for Link to wear, and Tears is no different. Most of the ones you found in Breath of the Wild are now either located in different areas or have to be obtained in a different manner, but Tears has a healthy dosage of new outfits, each with their own specific trait. The Breath of the Wild DLC outfits are already here, and finding them is a treasure in and of itself. There is a crazy amount of things to do in this game, not only because of the added exploration of the Sky Islands and the depths, but the surface has so many new quests and locations to explore. Even if you're already familiar with the map layout, it hardly matters as new NPCs and or enemies are present, as well as new structures in various locations. Because there's so much to do and explore, it can be difficult to stay on track. For example, I was talking to this NPC and he told me to talk to another NPC for a side quest not too far away. After speaking with him, I started heading out, but oh look, there's a Korok who needs help getting to his friend. Okay, I'll just launch him over to his campsite and collect my reward. Alright, let's head back, but oh wait, there's a tower in the distance. I want to go check that out first. Okay, I'm almost there, but oh look, what's that pattern on the ground? Better go investigate. Oh wait, there's a stone tower nearby. I bet it's hiding some treasure. And yeah, this was what my first playthrough was like for a huge portion of the game. It was very rare of me to go from point A to point B without stopping multiple times or getting sidetracked into something else. Actual temples return as opposed to divine beasts in the previous game. I thought this was a nice touch, however they didn't play too much like a traditional temple or dungeon. However, seeing how this is not a traditional Zelda game, it's okay it was like this. They're fun to figure out, but I guess I wish they were a bit larger in scale, thereby completing them would take longer to do. The boss fights of the temples ranged from easy to challenging, which is better than having them all be near the same difficulty level. Like the temples themselves, I just wish there were more of them. However, I guess some of the monsters you fight throughout Hyrule could count as a boss fight, or at least a mini-boss. Nintendo raised the bar again. The amount of content jam-packed into this game is staggering, and almost all of it is readily accessible from the beginning. The new abilities are quite enjoyable, and although they're a core feature, I'm so relieved they complement the overall gameplay instead of being the main focus. It took me around 100 hours to beat the game, and I didn't even come close to exploring everything or completing the vast amount of side quests. There were only a few things I wish were different, and my main complaint is that there's a slight delay when trying to select an ability. But with everything available, everything there is to do, the level of freedom you have at your disposal, not only in terms of exploration, but also in DIY designs for your builds, and the vast world to explore on 3 different levels, this is a no-brainer. If you enjoyed Breath of the Wild, you should have absolutely no doubts about Tears of the Kingdom. This game gets a 5 out of 5 with the title of Monumentally and Supremely Perfect.